That's a right that they have that we technically don't have. I think the only right we have is either thumbs up or thumbs down, approve it or not.
Water and sewer will tell you that they want our approval to make any type of
Well,
arrangement that
I
might be
know,
asked
like on the
for.
last one, on the very last one we had, I thought that was an option. And
I think I wrote it in, that they could make
I guess I
arrangements.
just wondered why they didn't do that in action.
So-
They've never done, these last,
It
every,
wasn't an option at all?
no.
Oh.
We wrote that option out, and then they told us they didn't want us writing what the options were.
Because we had set amounts for the large.
Remember, we
ones.
said pay
Yeah.
that in 6
And
equal
you know
months.
how they talked to the supervisor?
Yep,
They never told me I couldn't write the arrangements in here, so if I wanna write the
you
arrangements.
write
in
the
here,
arrangements in there.
but
You go right
they
ahead.
have ability to make arrangements to pay the bill. Until they tell me I can't tell them to do that,
Go right
I can
ahead.
tell them to do that.
That's right.
One more time. What's the fun?
So
How
the
do you want
motion
me-
is that he owes the whole bill, and that he can make arrangements for payments. And I will write it in here, because our options were to give him the break on this $170.50, or there's lines here for me to write exactly what I need to write. in
No
here.
concession, make arrangements.
Yeah, to pay the whole bill.
Yep, okay. I will agree with that. I will
And
second
then that's been seconded by Ms. DeShano.
that. Okay, so that was Sam and Lori? Or
Well,
It
it
was
was
Charlie.
Charlie.
Charlie and
Yeah.
Lori?
It was confusing, it was coming from a lot of different directions.
Just 1 second, please. Campbell.
You made the motion and I support it.
I was gonna say, you don't always, so.
Only if I want to
No,
take
there's
one.
no concessions
No
made?
concession, let's, okay,
Read the verbiage, please.
okay, there are no concessions on the bill, but arrangements can be made through the Department of Water and Sewer. That's basically,
That's it,
That's what
Okay.
you got it,
that's it.
all right,
and you voted yes, right?
I voted yes to what you
Okay.
just said, making sure we're on the same
Davidson?
page.
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Class,
Yes.
DeShano.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have the verbiage in the ordinance to change to tourist dwellings on the C1 ordinance.
To add
And
tourist dwellings? Because that wasn't a part of the original.
Yes, we're adding the word tourist dwellings. I gave you a copy of what we're doing. I'm only gonna say one thing, that this cabins are a long ways from being approved, with this verbiage being put in our book, adding this to it. The setbacks and everything that they had didn't fit on the blueprints they had. I obviously sympathize with your living room window looking out over the top of these two lots out into the bay, but it's still two lots you don't own, so I mean, you had to know something was gonna happen there. They were owned by the marina at one time.
Well, when we talked to Roger, he said that there's no ability to build on it. You know, we were the only family that had any type of.
Well, I know that's not true because I talked to Roger and he thought he had this already passed for the cabins to
It
be
sounds
built.
like a lot of people get false information from Roger though.
So,
You know, so I mean, you can take his word or our family's word, but you can't say one's right, one's not, 'cause really, how do you know?
I'm just saying that,
To me, Sam, and I'll be quiet after this, because again, my comments have been said, your hat says it all, whatever it takes. You know what I mean?
So,
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned Roger,
well,
and
I
you
don't
mentioned,
wanna go into.
no, you say it was approved and that, but,
He said it was approved
well,
years ago, which we.
in
never-
18 is what he's saying. But then if we look back, it's a very difficult trail to try and follow.
That never
So,
was approved, not mine.
there we go. So,
So, this is what the planning commission has sent to us. We might as well find out right out of the chute. I make a motion that we accept the planning commission's recommendation to add the verbiage and some of the setbacks and that's in this, regarding tourist dwellings. To accept it and put it into the books. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We'll have to do a roll call vote on it.
For the rules, Robert's rules, after you get your second, you have support for your motion, that is the point where discussion takes place, rather than calling a vote. And I think discussion needs to take place, this is a pretty significant change.
I don't see how it's any different than, like, when the wind and solar came up, or, you know, especially solar, because we had a wind ordinance that was very vague. But when solar came up, we didn't have a solar ordinance. So we felt we needed to have some guidance and rules in place for that kind of development. So, you know, this is a new development, so this was an ordinance that we're trying to get some rules and guidance in place to accommodate it.
Right, but that's the problem.
So what,
What's the problem?
You
Well,
can't,
the
you don't
problem is
accommodate
you're-
a developer, they have
well,
to
it's
conform.
no different than accommodating the solar
Right.
No,
projects.
there's a
We
difference
put
between
ordinance in place
regulating.
so that they would have rules and guidelines to follow. So we don't want to have any rules and guidelines for people to follow.
I think
well,
that,
currently, our zoning
It's-
doesn't even
right.
allow for them, so it's not a matter of whether we
Yeah.
have the rules to follow.
We didn't
Yeah.
have anything for solar or windmills either.
well, there was something, but it wasn't strong enough,
Right.
essentially, what you had before.
Right.
So it's also a little bit different, because I imagine that was more aimed toward residential solar versus industrial. What you had previously, your old ordinance. I'm sorry,
Wind.
wind, I apologize. So that was more on a smaller scale rather than a large scale.
No, they just didn't have
Development.
they just didn't have the vision at the time that it was done in 2010, I think it was.
Okay,
Uh,
so I guess my argument would be this. We have issues with short-term rentals that we've heard about from people whose neighborhoods are having issues with having these short-term rentals come up in a neighborhood where they're raising their families and the concerns that they have as far as that goes. We've had issues with long-term rentals, specifically, for lack of a better term, because I don't even think it has a name, the Pink Palace, which doesn't have doesn't have any conforming features that our zoning actually requires, in addition to some of our other previous ordinances that are still under discussion. We don't have ordinances to actually put a basic framework for any type of short-term rentals. So to
We're
make
not
this,
talking about short-term rentals.
but that's what these are gonna be. That's what these are
That's
intended to be.
exactly what they are.
So-
May I say something here? This is from the planning commission, this is myself, I'm on the planning commission. That ordinance is directly addressing multi-dwellings on a single parcel. Short-term rentals will be something else that the planning commission will have to address because it was brought to our attention. And long-term rentals will also have to be addressed because you brought it to our attention. But those are some different items on this. Right now, the only thing we're dealing with is multi-dwellings on a single parcel, and it's still by special use, and it's still only in the commercial area. And that is all that addresses, nothing else. Everything else has to be brought back up and addressed separately so that there are specific wording for that specific situation. In this case, it's not whether it's a rental, long-term or short-term, it's just multi-dwellings on a single parcel in C1 zoning. And it applies to you if you have C1 zoning, you have acreage that you can do it in, you're more than welcome to do it. But again, it's special use. It addresses setbacks as it defines it in dwelling, which is already there. So it has not changed anything, it just put a definition to it. So the setbacks still are already defined, they were followed. The fire marshal said he wants 20 feet between eaves. That was put in there. Everything else is already in the zoning ordinance, except for that definition. And again, short-term rentals will be addressed. And it'll have to go through the same thing. There'll have to be a definition, and then there'll have to be steps to follow it. And if it's a special use, they'll have to come back, and they'll have to hit all the check marks for special use. But right now, I think there's confusion on what that ordinance says, or what it's doing, and what it's addressing.
When is the last time the planning commission got involved in reactive zoning? Because that's really, I mean, were it
It's
not
not- we
for
didn't
this
rezone
development,
anything.
this never would have happened,
But we
right?
never zoned anything, nothing, this is C1 zoning, you know, it's already zoned, it's not rezoned.
But this never would have been amended had it not been for this particular development on that particular parcel. This
It wouldn't
never would
have
have
been
been
amended until it was brought up, the same way short-term rentals wouldn't have been addressed unless it's brought up, and the same way long-term rentals wouldn't be addressed unless they're brought up. Until it's brought up, nobody knows to address it, same as wind, same as solar. We could have had it addressed if we were looking far enough ahead, and so we gotta address solar because it's coming this way. But it came this way and then we addressed it. So you can't address anything you don't know that needs addressed.
So these are coming this way, so this was addressing the situation. I'm,
This is just
The
turning
only
on.
problem
this is still a
This is
special
not
use, I
saying-
mean, they still gotta bring it to a special use.
Well, here's the question. When I went down and I sat in and I listened to the planning and zoning meeting, the planning and zoning meeting said clearly, you build to your zoning. But now we're modifying what can be built somewhere. Is this even compatible with that neighborhood? And the moral of this, I let you speak, it's my turn to speak.
I'm not speaking.
I'm just saying. So, when we look at that area, and then we look at putting 3 buildings on a 60-foot wide lot, that's what they want. They're looking at the corner lot up to 5 buildings. Could be 4, but original plan that came into this office had 5 and 3 out at the water. Now, the other townships don't have it because their people said no.
Yes, they do. Fraser Township has 2 cabins on one lot right on Miller Road.
Fraser. Bangor does not, neither
Well,
does
you said other
Monitor.
townships in this township, Fraser
There's one
does.
that does.
Bangor has some as well.
Well, you know what?
So speak your piece.
I was
And then
speaking my
we're-
piece
And then we're going to
go forward.
vote on what is on the table right now.
I'm just gonna reiterate what was said in public comment, which is, and I've been to many of these meetings, there's nobody that speaks in support of this except for people that have money on the line. I think this is a backward way to do zoning. The very master plan that keeps getting pushed to the side for issues like this that are completely reactive. I mean, takes over the whole planning commission meeting. There's not even any movement on the master plan that's already a year late because of things like this. That is reactive zoning. That's what that is.
Deal with the master plan, then
You
you'll be
need
dealing
a
with
plan,
everything
and
else.
then you move forward. Instead, this has all of a sudden risen to the top as the highest priority for our planning commission, sidelined our whole master plan, to put the cart before the horse for a single development that is not fitting with the neighborhood, that citizen after citizen after citizen has written letters, has come up and talked at the planning commission and said they did not support it. And none of that is being listened to, and instead this is just being pushed forward, and that's a dangerous place to be. It's a very dangerous place to be as an elected official, to continue that trend of not listening to the people that employ us.
So we have a motion on the floor.
Can I add one more thing, just
Yeah.
discussion wise?
Yeah.
And from a legal perspective, it doesn't matter whether you are in favor or not in favor of tourist dwellings. 5 years ago, this definition didn't exist. And what's been happening in other areas is by not having definitions that match what the courts are calling things nowadays, that makes it to where a circuit court judge could actually make the decision for you, whether you like it or not. I would recommend having the definition in some way, shape, or form added, whether you're saying, yes, we want them, or no, we don't, just so that it conforms to recent case law and the way the legislature and the judges are looking at the definition themselves. Because right now, I think if it went to a court, it would just be up to whatever that judge says on that day, because we don't address actually tourist dwellings.
Well, the motion on the floor is that we accept the recommendation from the planning commission, and there is a second, so that's a roll call vote.
Davidson,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Class,
Yes.
DeShano,
No.
Campbell.
No.
Motion carried.
It's just for the.
Yeah, I didn't look it up.
Tourist dwelling, it's just for definition. That's all this changes.
All right, so we have one more thing under new business, and it's a military marker for Mr. Howay, who has been buried in our cemetery, and the funeral home has indicated they have delivered to us a military marker, which they can't prove whether they did or they didn't. I can't prove whether we got it or we didn't get it. So the recommendation here is that our share of a new military marker is $188, and the funeral home will pay the other half, and we will get a military marker on this gentleman's grave. And this has been going on for
2021.
2021, so 2 years.
I'll make the motion to get the military marker on this man's grave.
And I'll second it to pay half of the bill.
Correct, 50%.
And half is 188.
$188 is the cost, yeah.
Cruz,
Yes.
Class,
Yes.
DeShano,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes. So then, any other new business? The only thing I have left is the FYI from the sheriff. And
Pretty
it's
standard issue.
228 reports, 82 traffic stops, 11 follow-ups. Oh, I got 7 reckless driving, 13 car deer accidents, 7 assaults, and a lot of 1s and 2s when it comes to vehicle in the median, vehicle fires. Any questions about the sheriff's report?
No.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would make a motion that everybody know we have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and be safe.
I'll second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Which opens the door for the tourist dwellings.
we can say no.
Well, no, that's why I said I would make sure that the PC takes up whether it's a thumb up or thumb down. This is just a definition right now. Because I know you said that this opens the door, but I think the door was opened by not having it stopped.